Hey, it's Bryan Whittington with the Talent, Sales, and Scale podcast. And today we're going to do part 2 on R.E.C.O.N. How do we leverage R.E.C.O.N. Whenever we're not only doing hiring, but sales pipeline review, coaching culture, and client engagement. So let's jump into how do we do this with a sales pipeline review. Now, we as business leaders, right? We as sales managers, sales leaders, we hear all kinds of excuses. And all you really want to know is what are the next steps? And so that goes into number 1, review. We want to review open opportunities within the calendar next steps. And if we don't have in the calendar next steps, if it's a loose, hey, I'm going to call them next Tuesday, or whatever that loose parameter sounds like, don't take it, right? There should be an in the calendar next step with on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, we're going to talk about agenda with outcome. That's really what we want whenever we're doing a pipeline review. And if it's anything less than that, then it might be a little bit of a fluff opportunity in there. So then we also want to evaluate the health of the opportunities, or the pipeline rather. So if you look at both the number in the pipeline as well as the dollar amount in the pipeline, we should have a good mix between whether you want to equate it to a deer, rabbit, elephant, a whole, what's the word that I'm looking for? A menagerie of different animals in there. How does that look like? So we want to make sure it's a good, healthy, those smaller accounts, the rabbit accounts or deer accounts with short sales cycle and decent enough money. But then we also want the larger, the elephant and the whale, to make sure that that's really where profitability and where they're making a good amount in their commissions come from. So we want to look at both the number of pipeline and dollar amount. And we also want to look at the engagement levels. What are the next steps? When's the last time we talked to them? And what are the ratios of opportunities at each step of the pipeline? So how many first-time meetings? How many in the disqualification side? How many at the closed, up to the solution presentation? Do we have the right ratios in all of those? And if you have more of a complex sales process with a longer sales cycle, then you're going to really want to make sure that we have enough at the top of the funnel to drive down to those end of the funnel, and that the end of the funnel isn't too much with a dried up top of the funnel, because then you're going to get massive oscillations. You want a good mix throughout. Then we want to go to changes. What changes should you have made about your strategy and activities? What's working, what isn't? So whenever we're going through this, we want to switch up strategies and activities each and every next step meeting or whatever we need to keep this thing going along. Opportunities, what's your highest priority to make sure that we're going to make our month or a quarter without trying to push it too much? Because here's what we know is if we try to close this too quickly or try to close this for the quarter to hit our number, then we're gonna mess up next quarter, and we might take some hits on profitability because we're trying to push this through. So what's the highest priority? And let's make sure that the top of the funnel is good enough that we have consistency of forecastable revenue coming across, because we're consistent in each and every stage. And then what support do you need from the team? Do you need my help as a sales leader? Do you need marketing's help? Do you need the CFO's help in negotiating? What help do you need from us so we can work on this collectively? And then lastly, and probably most importantly, what are the action items? What are those next steps? Who needs to do what? And let's put actions along with them. And back to number 1, opportunities in the calendar with next steps. What are those next steps with the agenda and expected outcomes? So that's how we can use R.E.C.O.N. in a pipeline review. Next up is coaching culture and client engagement. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.